Hazrat Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, rahmatullah alayh, is known by the titles Khwaja Gharib Nawaz and Ata'i Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was born in the mountainous city of Sanjar, near Khorasan, in Iran, in the year 530 Hijri. His father, Hazrat Khwaja Sayyid Ghayasuddin bin Ahmad Hassan rahmatullah alayh, was a Husseini Sayyid, and his mother, Bibi Wara bin Hazrat Sayyid Dawood rahmatullah alayh, was a Hassani Sayyid. He became an orphan at the tender age of 8 when his father passed away, and his mother followed when he was 15. In 544 Hijri, while working in his garden, he encountered a dervish named Hazrat Ibrahim Qanduzi. As a gesture of hospitality, Khwaja Moinuddin offered him a bunch of grapes. The dervish ate them, and, pleased with his hospitality, offered Khwaja Moinuddin something to eat from his own satchel. Upon eating it, Khwaja Moinuddin experienced a spiritual awakening, and the doors of knowledge and wisdom opened for him. Subsequently, he sold all his possessions and distributed the wealth among the poor and needy. Pursuit of knowledge and spiritual guidance. He then embarked on a journey to Samarkand and Bukhara to acquire religious knowledge, studying there from 544 Hijri to 550 Hijri. He benefited greatly from the spiritual and intellectual guidance of Hazrat Maulana Husamuddin and Hazrat Maulana Sharafuddin. In 550 Hijri, he met Hazrat Ghaus-i Azam razillahu ta'ala anhu. At that time, he was searching for a perfect spiritual guide, peer. He learned about Khwaja Usman Haruni rahmatullah alayh and became his disciple in 552 Hijri. He dedicated his life to the worship of Allah and the service of his murshid. Once, Khwaja Usman Haruni asked him to look down and then up, and Khwaja Moinuddin replied that he could see inside the earth and the sky respectively. His murshid then said, "I want to take you even further." Khwaja Moinuddin served his murshid for 22 years. One day, his murshid placed 2 fingers between his eyes and asked him to look down and then up again. This time, Khwaja Moinuddin said he could see to the 7th layer of the earth, Tatisara, and to the Arshiyam, the highest heaven. Pleased with this, Khwaja Usman Haruni bestowed upon him the caliphate, the title of Gharib Nawaz. On one occasion, his murshid gathered all his disciples and asked them to present their spiritual accomplishments. While others presented gold, silver, diamonds, and dinars, Khwaja Moinuddin presented only pieces of bread. The other disciples laughed at him. Just then, a beggar arrived, asking for food as he had been hungry for days. The others offered their valuable possessions, but the beggar refused, stating he only needed food. Khwaja Moinuddin then offered him the pieces of bread, which the beggar gratefully accepted and offered many prayers. Witnessing this, his murshid, Khwaja Usman Haruni rahmatullah alayh, declared, "O Moinuddin, you are Gharib Nawaz, patron of the poor." In 555 Hijri, he met Sheikh Ziauddin Abu Najib Abdul Qadir Suhrawardi rahmatullah alayh. In 635 Hijri, his murshid presented him with his blessed cloak, Jubba-i Mubarak, and took him for Hajj. Shuo, prayers at the Kaaba. Upon reaching Baytullah Sharif, Khwaja Usman Haruni held Khwaja Moinuddin's hand and prayed to Allah for him. He asked for 3 things. 1. O my sustainer, accept my Moinuddin. Allah replied, "We have accepted your prayer." 2. O Allah, grant my Moinuddin more fame than me. Allah replied, "This prayer is also accepted." 3. O Allah, create your manifestation and the glory of your beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my Moinuddin. Allah replied, "This prayer is also accepted." The effect of this last prayer was evident at the time of Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti's passing, as the words, "Ja Habibullah," this is Allah's beloved, were found inscribed on his forehead, signifying his death in the love of Allah. Visit to Medina Sharif. When Khwaja Moinuddin, accompanied by his murshid, arrived in Medina Sharif and visited the sacred tomb of Huzur-i Aqdas sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he respectfully offered salutations. "As-salatu was-salamu alayka, ya Rasulallah." A voice from the blessed tomb replied, "Walaykum as-salamu yaqtabul mashayikh bahar barbar," meaning, "And peace be upon you, O Qutab, of the elders of the land and sea." In 580 Hijri, he met Ghaus-i Azam razillahu ta'ala anhu again. In 582 Hijri, he accepted Khwaja Kutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki as his disciple and bestowed upon him the caliphate in Samarkand in 585 Hijri. Journey to India. In 585 Hijri, while on Hajj with Khwaja Kutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki, Huzuri Akram sallallahu alayhi wasallam appeared in a dream and instructed him, "O Moinuddin, you are the helper of the faith. Now go to India, path of Islam." Following this divine instruction, he began his journey, gaining spiritual benefits from many Sufi and Awliya Kiram along the way. He spread the message of Islam to thousands and showed them the right path. He briefly stayed in Lahore before reaching Ajmer, Rajputana, Rajasthan, in 587 Hijri, at the age of 52. At that time, Prithviraj Chauhan ruled Ajmer. Arrival in Ajmer. Upon his arrival in Ajmer, the city's largest temple was a sacred place reserved exclusively for the king and queen's worship. Near the temple was a pond called Anasagar, whose water was considered extremely holy by Hindus. They believed that bathing in it cleansed them of all sins. Thousands of lamps were lit in the temple every night, consuming 3.5 maunds of oil. The surrounding villages were named after the temple, and their entire income was spent on its upkeep. Thousands of servants attended to visitors, and the temple priests would guide people on which deity granted children, health, or wealth. Khwaja Gharib Nawaz rahmatullah alayhi and his disciples settled on a mat near Anasagar. It was Asr time, and Khwaja Sahib asked Hazrat Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki rahmatullah alayhi to give the azan. In Ajmer, then filled with idolatry and polytheism, this was the first declaration of Allah's oneness and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's prophethood. The sound of the azan astonished the locals who had never heard it before. They emerged from their homes to see Khwaja Gharib Nawaz and his disciples. Soon, a crowd gathered near Anasagar. Khwaja Gharib Nawaz and his disciples performed ablution with the water of Anasagar and began to offer prayers. The astonished Hindus wondered which god these people were bowing to, when all their deities were inside the temple. In the evening, the king's camels returned with their herdsmen. By chance, Khwaja Sahib was sitting at the designated resting spot for the king's camels. The herdsman asked him to move, stating it was for the king's camels. Khwaja Sahib replied that the vast field was empty and the camels could sit anywhere, requesting them not to bother them. However, they insisted, saying it was the king's special spot and only his camels would sit there. Hearing this, Khwaja Sahib stood up and told Hazrat Qutbuddin, "Let's go, Qutbuddin. They say this is for camels, so I say now only camels will sit here." With this, Khwaja Sahib and his companions left. The miracle of the camels. The next morning, the herdsmen tried to get the camels to stand, but they wouldn't budge. Despite their efforts and beatings, the camels remained still. The herdsmen were perplexed, remembering Khwaja Sahib's words, "Now only camels will sit here." The news spread quickly, and people gathered, some calling him a great magician, others a new incarnation of God. The news re-uttered these words, Saga, eventually Raj Chauhan. People complained that these fakirs were Muslims, gave azanan 5 times a day, defiled their sacred pond by washing their hands and faces in it, and spoke against their religion, calling idols mere stones. They demanded their removal. King Prithviraj Chauhan sent a message to the fakirs, stating, "You eat meat, speak against our religion, and defile our sacred pond by washing your hands and faces in it. We cannot tolerate this. It is best for you to leave." Khwaja Sahib asked why their use of water was an issue when others also used it. The king replied that others were of their faith, while they were of a different religion, and warned of action if they continued to defile the pond. Hearing this, Khwaja Sahib told Hazrat Qutbuddin, "Qutbuddin, perhaps they will stop us from taking water in the future. Go and bring a mashkiza, water skin, full of water." Hazrat Qutbuddin suggested they fill their cup instead, but when they tried to fill their cup from the pond, they were stopped. A condition was then placed: their bodies should not touch the water. Hazrat Qutbuddin rahmatullah alayhi sat on the steps of the pond and dipped his cup into the water. As soon as the cup was full and pulled out, as if the entire Anasagar had been contained within that small cup, the onlookers were stunned. The drying of Anasagar caused widespread distress in Ajmer. Cries of anguish filled the streets. People wept, lamenting the loss of their holy water, which they used to cleanse their sins and find peace. The news spread that a traveling fakir had magically dried up Anasagar. King Prithviraj Chauhan was deeply troubled by the drying of Anasagar. He summoned his ministers, who suggested that the fakir was either a great magician or a truly powerful spiritual figure. The king and his ministers were also concerned because Anasagar was the pride of Ajmer, attracting people from far and wide who returned with strengthened faith. Its drying would be a great blow to Hinduism and a source of shame for Ajmer. Finally, it was decided to talk to the fakir and understand his demands, to accept them if reasonable, and to apologize, pleading for relief from their predicament. They begged for mercy and forgiveness, expressing their sorrow for their sins and how they would now find peace without the sacred water that had been the easiest way to cleanse themselves. They implored Khwaja Gharib Nawaz rahmatullah alayhi to allow them to perform ablution and to return their Anasagar for the sake of God. Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz instructed Hazrat Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki to take the same cup and put it back into the pond. As soon as the cup was placed in the pond, all the water from beneath Anasaga surged back, filling the pond. The water was so clean and pure that it washed away days of dust and dirt. Historical texts also mention that 32,000 non-Muslims embraced Islam that evening. Ramdev's encounter and conversion. This mass conversion angered and frightened Hindu pandits and ordinary Hindus. They feared that if this fakir remained for a few more days, no one would be left to worship their gods. People pressured King Prithviraj Chauhan to resolve the issue quickly. The king summoned the chief priest of the temple, Ramdev, and ordered him to challenge and defeat Khwaja Sahib and expel him from Ajmer. Ramdev was a renowned pundit of his time, possessing magical and tantric powers. He assured the king that he would bring good news soon. Ramdev approached Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz and began asking irrelevant and disrespectful questions. Hazrat Khwaja Gharib Nawaz advised him to maintain peace. But when Ramdev continued to make noise and speak exceedingly rudely, Khwaja Gharib Nawaz looked at him and smiled, saying, "Ramdev, you are making noise, but I see the light of faith shining on your forehead." Upon hearing this, a miracle occurred. Ramdev suddenly fell at Khwaja Gharib Nawaz's feet and, weeping, pleaded, "Baba Sahib, include me in the religion you follow."